Hello box headers, welcome to another instruction video. This time we're cutting out the American football paper toy body and sleeves and boots. And you can see cut lines, fold lines, pretty simple instructions, but it's also always useful to have a few sort of extra hints and tips whenever you're doing any crafting, and to see somebody else doing it as well, I think, and craft along. There's no set rules about what order you cut things out in, but with me I'm sort of working on cutting out the boot and the sleeve first, so that can sort of like go on the side and it's not getting in the way for when I'm cutting out the body. Now apologies, I think you might be getting a bit of a delay in the video or something's going on. Anyway, try and keep those scissors nice and straight up in front of you, straight up and down. And rather than turning the scissors around your cuts, turn the paper around the scissors with your opposite hand, your non-cutting hand, which in this case is my left hand is my non-cutting hand. And there you go. You can see if you get those bits out of the way, it makes it a lot easier to cut around those bits, but also around the body here. And move any bits of rubbish out of the way, bits that you don't need out of the way, and make sure that you keep hold of the bits that you do need in a separate pile. Keep your crafting station well organised. Another bit of rubbish off to the side there. Now, as I said sort of at the start of the video, the instructions for this will work for any of the colour combinations of the American football paper toy that you can buy on my website, www.boxedspapercrafts.com. There's all sorts of different coloured uniforms and strips on there, and then you can combine those with a free paper toy head and arms and ears. You can download those for free, those parts, again from my website, and combine them with this to make a full, complete paper toy character. Anyway, we're just moving around the tabs there. You can see I'm trying to keep my scissors as straight as possible. Straight up and down there, and then turning the paper with my non-cutting hand, and never closing the scissors completely. Always sort of just making slow, steady cuts with the scissors. Move the paper around, leave the scissors around a little bit, but you don't want to be twisting your scissors too much, because then you can get in all sorts of not all sorts of trouble, I mean crafting trouble. You can just make little mistakes and errors, but we're straight into folding this one. And there you can see those dotted lines, those sort of little hollow rectangles. You just want to make some nice gentle folds, just bending the paper over. It doesn't have to be a sharp, pinched fold. Some folds on that side there as well, and you'll find as you're making these folds and as you get right to the end that those folds sort of bring the paper toy together, so that you know where you're going to be sticking what side you're going to be sticking to other sides and stuff. It'll make more sense when we are sticking, but anyway, make sure you've got all those folds worked out. We've got some folds to do all the way along the front of the paper toy there, and just down the sides. Those side bits tuck into the front of the chest. Let's pinch those bits together, and we've got to go all the way down here. We've got some folds on the pants, on the trousers, on the American footballers' socks there as well. You can see where the logo is. That's going to be the base where the feet get stuck in. Get to that later on. Folding up around the back, and that's the back where the body meets the head. Just make sure all those folds have been made, and then, like I say, you can start to sort of, those folds will naturally bring the paper toy together in that sort of box shape ready for sticking, which we're going to get straight on with. And those tabs will sort of like, they cover up the gaps for the body, but they also help when you're sticking things together, they help to hold things in place. You can see I've got a handy tape dispenser there, where I can peel off some tape and stick one half of the tape to the side and the other half to the body. There we go, you can see me fiddling away trying to line up the trousers and the socks, taking my time to get that together, then popping on half the tape on one side, doing a bit more adjusting, and then folding the tape down on the other side. Well, I've just gone off camera there, bring it back so we can see what you're sticking. There we go. So just sticking that very bottom bit. That helps the paper toy to stand up alongside with the feet. And then rather than going all the way along the back, I'm moving around to the other side and doing the same all the way down that side. So that's the side where the side of the shirt meets the front of the shirt. Then we're on to the shorts or pants and socks. Sellotape on one side, lining up, fold it over. And then a little bit of tape on that bottom bit there. And then we can tuck all those tabs in, and we're going to tuck it's a nice snug fit there so that we can stick the back to the rest of it and make that complete body part. So again, we've got a bit of tape that glues it there. We've got to fill in those, stick down those side bits as well. Make sure they're nicely lined up with the back of the shirt and the socks. Smooth the tape out a little bit. And then the same for this side as well. And there we have it. There's the main part of the body all cut, folded and stuck together. Now we can move on to the boots and the sleeves. So again, I'm just going to cut the boot off, so it makes cutting the sleeve a little bit easier. See, we've not got that extra bit of paper that can get in our way. So again, we're just making some nice, slow and steady cuts to the paper. The paper that I'm using is A4 size 200 GSM. Now, obviously, the greater the number when you hear GSM, the heavier the paper is, or even goes into card when you get to sort of about 300 GSM. 80 GSM is standard photocopying paper, which is fine to use. You can still make your paper toys on standard printer copier paper. But I've used 200 GSM paper, and it just gives the print a nicer, smoother, glossier finish, and it also makes our paper toy a little bit stronger, a little bit sturdier, and a little bit fancier, I suppose. Anyway, you can see how I'm using my left hand to move the paper around the scissors. Scissors stay nice and still, keeping my crafting table nice and tidy, getting rid of those rubbish bits. And then we've got a few little folds on the sleeves here. So you're just folding over the tabs on both sides there. And then that bit's the bit for the top of the shoulder. That fold there will actually end up sticking to the main body part. A couple of other little tabs there. Now we can see how it sort of all folds and folds together, and then that red part, how that folds round, so you get a bit of a curve on the shoulder. But just for now, we're going to stick the sort of the inside of the shoulder, the armpit area, I suppose, of the sleeve. So even my big chunky fingers can do some little fiddly craft bits. and there you can see how that shoulder bit curves around onto that other tab. And get a nice sort of rounded shoulder to the American footballer's sort of shoulder pads, gives him that little bit of extra bulk that those players have. There you go. That's going to go on the shoulder there. You can see, you can't quite see on there, but there is some markings for where the armpit is and where the sleeve goes. But what we'll carry on with now is the boot. It's a lot easier to see with these smaller pieces how you can keep your scissors nice and straight and steady, straight on in front of you, and all the work is actually being done by the non-cutting hand to move the paper around, and it just makes cutting out so much less tricky because you're not moving the scissors around. You don't have to worry about cutting something that you shouldn't do because your left hand is controlling everything and lining everything up. And what you'll find with the boots is that the pattern of the boot is exactly the same pattern as you get for the arms. So whatever head and arms combination you've printed off, remember those are available on my website for free. There's a whole range of haircuts and hair colours and ethnicities as well. That hopefully you can pick one that looks like you or looks like a friend or maybe even your favourite player, and you can print that out and craft that head and arms to match up with your favourite American football uniform. So there we go, we've gone on to folding the feet there, all the way along there, and then we've got sort of like, that's the fold for the toes, that will go and match around the back. And then this fold here, I'll leave this to the very last because I actually fold it in half and line it up and then crease just along there so that we get that. That's it, how it's all flattened out. And now we've made the folds sort of all come together to give us that 3D shape. And you can see just matching everything up. Then a little bit of tape from these tape dispensers. If you've not got a tape dispenser like that, like the one that I've got in the top right hand corner there, what I'd recommend doing is cutting out about 10 or 12 pieces of tape and sticking them on the edge of the table that you're working on, the flat surface that you're working on, and then you don't have to keep sort of dropping down your paper craft and cutting out another piece of tape for every little bit. You've got tape that's sort of ready to go there, so you don't need to keep cutting tape off. And there you go, you can see we've made one little boot, one little American footballer boot or spike. What do you call it? Is there a specialist name? Americans that are watching this, what's the specialist name for an American football boot? Drop it in the comments for me, please. I could look it up on the internet, but what's the fun in that? You let me know. Are they called spikes, are they? Or I don't know. Tell me, please. Are they just called running shoes? Who knows? Anyway, on to the next one. I'm just going around the tabs at the toe of the other boot there. The boots, there's not a right or a left boot. So you don't need to worry about putting the right foot on the right side or the left foot on the left side. The boots are exactly the same. When it comes to the arms, however, there is a left arm and a right arm. And if you watch the video instructions for when you cut out the heads, I'll show you on there. And I think I'll probably show you at the end of this one as well, sort of the thumbs stick out to the front. You can see the thumbs on the front. Anyway, back to, we're on to folding the paper toy boot or spike or shoe, running shoe, whatever you want to call it. As you can probably tell, I'm English, so I've not got, I don't know the exact details of American football uniforms, but I'm happy to be educated. So we've got nearly all the folds there. Folding the tab for near the toes. That tucks into the inside of the boot. And then remember, sort of that last fold I'll leave to the very end so I can bend it around and line it up, line those lace parts up with the top of the boot, and then just the folds aren't sort of, sometimes you'll see, especially in origami, you'll run your fingernails along the folds, get a really nice sharp crease. Now you can do that, but you don't have to. I've just gently bent and folded the paper. And now we're coming to stick things together. Take your time, line things up. Get it stuck on one side, line it up again, and then fold the tape into place. You can use glue with these paper toys. That's where the tabs have another really good use as well. You can sort of put glue directly onto the tab, and then the tabs sort of tuck inside the paper toy so you can't see them. You can't see any of your glued areas, or obviously because you're not using tape, you can't see any of the tape either. And I like to use a hot glue gun, but obviously you've got to use what you feel comfortable with. I'd imagine there's some young crafters out there who maybe don't have that amount of experience and are quite happy to use sellotape. But for more experienced crafters, you can try using glue, which takes a little bit longer to dry, obviously, than sellotape. Sellotape takes no time at all to dry. Or hot glue. Like I say, I use a hot glue gun, and that dries within seconds and gives you a really nice finish to your paper toy. Keeping a nice tidy work area there, getting rid of those bits that I don't need. Those rubbish bits, making a nice neat rubbish pile over to the side. Just making the last few cuts on the sleeve, on the shoulder pad that we've got for our red and white American football player. There's a whole range of different colours on there, 32 different colours of American toy paper, paper characters to cut out and craft and collect. I'm sure you'll be able to find your favourite, or if you can't find your favourite, give me some ideas for what colour combinations you would like to see on there. I'm more than happy to receive some feedback and suggestions for what you crafters might like to download and print and craft. There we go, just sticking that second sleeve down, and I'll show you how it sticks to the body as well, so that it doesn't stick, so that it's so that it doesn't move. But I do a nice little simple bit of sticking so that the arm and the arms and the feet actually move on the paper toy, with the way that it's stuck on there with the sellotape. It's that last little bit. You can see how the shoulder's got a nice curve to it. And there's the second one as well. And I'm going to show you how they stick to the side there. Now you'll see, well, don't give a close-up on this side, but on the body, on the side of the body, you'll see that there's some nice sort of, you see on there, it's very faint. You can see those sort of like, there's like a rounded square on the side there, and that shows you sort of exactly where you want to stick your shoulder pad, your shoulder sleeve. Now if you stick it on the top there, and then if you sort of bend the sleeve over the neck of the body and get another piece of tape and stick it there, you can see that you get a nice bit of movement on the arm there. You get a nice hinge, so that you can move the arms on your paper toy American footballer. Do the same on this side as well. Stuck a bit of tape on there, and then we're just going to very slowly line it up and then stick it down onto the body there. Again, lift that up so we can stick a bit of tape in the armpit area. half on the body, then half goes up onto the sleeve, and then we get that nice bit of movement on the American footballers' arms. Don't worry if they go up a little bit. You can sort of like bend them into place, and they'll go into place with the weight of the arm that slots in. And I'll show you that a little bit later. But on to sticking on the American footballers' boots, spikes, running shoes. And you can see I put a bit of tape on the boot, and then the other half of that bit of tape goes onto the body near the Boxheads Papercrafts logo. Flip it over and then get another bit of tape and do the same as we did for the shoulders, so you get that nice sort of flip and movement with the boot as well. And in case you missed that or you're not too sure, I'm going to do it a second time. Or of course you can rewind the video a few seconds. But here we can see, oops, butterfingers. There we go with the second boot. We can flip those both there so we can sort of get them both lined up. And another bit of tape over the laces and over the end and onto the socks a little bit. And there you can see shoulders flap about and the boots flap about, and your paper toy American footballer stands up. Now we can see we can put the, here's some that I prepared earlier, those arms. They'll slot in nicely there. Although we do need to put a little bit of sticky tape on those, but just showing you how that slots in and how the head pops on the top as well. But I think we start with the, and you can get double-sided tape for this, but rather than sort of fiddling around with that, I'll show you how you can curl a bit of single-sided tape, standard sellotape, and make a little sticky loop to stick your arms to the sleeve. So even with my big fat fingers, I can loop the sticky side so that it's all around the outside, and you get a nice little sort of cylinder that you can pop on the end and flatten it out right at the top of the arm. And you want your thumb facing out, because that's the right side for the for that right arm to be. That's the right thumb and the right arm. You want those thumbs facing the front. We'll get another bit of tape and make another one of those loops. So stick it down, and then we can stick that to the, see how those fingers are coming up on the inside of the arm there. Make sure you stick it on there. And then make sure you have the thumb facing forward. It's for the left arm, left side and left thumb. And see how getting those arms in sort of flattens things down a little bit, and we get those arms bobbing around. We're going to do the same thing with the tape for the head. So a bit of a longer piece of tape. So we get a longer and bigger loop. And then we can stick that pretty much in the middle of the top of the body there. And then we can line up, take our time to line up the head and stick that on. And because we've made that loop, we get a nice bit of a bobble head, bit of a bouncy head knocking around there. And there's our American football paper toy character all cut and folded and stuck together. Thanks for watching, Boxheaders, and happy crafting.